All right, today we are talking about the Bill of Rights. You guys have your student slides that look similar to this. As we go through, I'll remind you of what you need to type and fill out as we're going through. So the Bill of Rights is a group of the first 10 amendments that were added to the United States Constitution. And so on your slides, you'll be filling out the red words on this slide. So in order for an amendment to be proposed, like for it to be added to the Constitution, there are two ways it can start. And so the first way that it can start is that it can be proposed or introduced by 2/3 of the members of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Or an amendment can be proposed or introduced at a convention called by 2/3 of the state legislature. And so it can start one or the other, one of those ways. And so from that, it can go to be ratified, and ratified just means that it's approved. And so it can be approved by 3/4 of the state legislatures. And so either of those first proposals can then go to that ratification step. So they can either do that, or they can be ratified by 3/4 of the state conventions. So this chart is a little confusing, but again, it can either start this way or this way. So there's two different proposal options. And so this one could go to this second step or this second step. And same with this one. It can either go to be approved by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or it can be ratified by 3/4 of the state conventions. So I know that graph has a lot going on, but it can either start with one of these proposals and then end with one of these ratifications. Okay, and so the Bill of Rights is determined, the meaning of it is determined by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is the group of people who, just like we learned that the judicial branch interprets laws, these people interpret what these rights mean, and in different cases between the government and whatever, it's up to the Supreme Court to decide who is following the Bill of Rights, who is technically, following the rules of the Constitution. They're the people that get to decide that. All right, and so here on this slide, you can pause it and fill in this vocabulary and these blanks. This is basically just a vocabulary slide to keep you caught up so that you are aware of these words, whatever I'm talking about, freedom of press or civil things, that you'll understand what they mean. So you can pause this right now and fill out the vocabulary slide. Okay, so we're going to go through all of the amendments on this slide. And so first, we're going to talk about the First Amendment. And so you can pause this and fill out what the explanation of the First Amendment is. And then I am going to explain to you in depth what the freedom of speech, freedom of press, assembly, and protest looks like. So there are 5 rights mentioned in the First Amendment. So that would be freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, petition. So freedom of speech, basically, in the Bill of Rights, it says Congress shall make no laws abridging the freedom of speech. So people in Congress are not allowed to pass any laws that limit people's free speech. And so with this freedom that we have, and we'll see this in a lot of our freedoms, there are limits. So yes, you have the freedom of speech, but you cannot threaten to blow up airplanes, schools, or the president. You cannot make threats like that. Obviously, you cannot have any sort of sexual harassment, creating chaos within society, being disrespectful in schools, hate crimes, things like that obviously are not protected by the Constitution. Those are things that are not included in your protection of your free speech. So with free speech, you can say any political belief. You can say where you lie on different issues. You can protest. Protesting is perfectly legal as long as you are not being destructive to any property. You can say hate slogans. You having the freedom of speech also means other people do. Other people might say things that you disagree with, and that's just something that could happen with the freedom of speech. Okay, and so here is a video that basically just summarizes the freedom of speech, the freedom of basically all of the First Amendment. If you are interested in watching it, you can go to YouTube and type in what does freedom of speech mean in the US. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to show that today, but you are welcome to go and look that up. It gives you a little bit more of an in-depth look at the freedom of speech, some things that are included in that, like burning of the flag and burning crosses, which is surprising to a lot of people. So if you're interested in that, go check out the video. All right, so we have the freedom of religion. It says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There are two parts mentioned in that. The government cannot make the citizens follow a specific religion. And that also means that all citizens are allowed to practice whatever religion they want to, or no religion at all if they don't want to. So the government can teach about religions in school. The government can allow voluntary prayer in many instances. They can transport students to a religious school. They can read the Bible for culture or for literacy content. So for learning about, for example, like Bible times or using it as a document, learning about things historically, that is perfectly allowed. But things that they cannot do. The government cannot choose a state religion. So the state of Missouri cannot say, all right, the state of Missouri is now Buddhist or whatever. They can't just choose a religion to make everyone follow. And the government cannot order prayer. It cannot teach religious doctrine in the school or pay seminary or religious school teachers. So obviously, public school teachers are paid by the government, but private school teachers are not, because again, the government is not allowed to pay religious school teachers. All right, so free exercise. The people can choose any religion. The people can lead prayer in most instances, but obviously people cannot break the law and claim that it is for a religious belief or reason. People are not allowed to raise children without an education and claim that that's what your religion believes in. Children are not allowed to be deprived of their basic needs because of religion. So obviously within reasonable boundaries, you have the freedom of religion and speech and press and all of those things, but within reason, not allowed to harm others or deprive children of needs, things like that. So the press, freedom of the press says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of the press. Congress is not allowed to limit the press of printing or publishing whatever they want to along lines, as everything else has limits. So does this. So the press, newspapers, articles, online newspapers, journals, the news, they can print any political position. If one magazine wants to be very conservative or very liberal, they are perfectly allowed to have their opinion and post it or print it. They're allowed to make fun of people. They're allowed to expose wrongs by the government and speak out against the government. Again, our country was founded on people who had just left a government that they didn't like. And one of the things that they weren't allowed to do in that government was to speak out against the king. And so they're wanting to create a government where the people still have a voice. And so the press cannot legally print libel. So if you ever take a journalism class, you will likely learn about libel, but libel is just intentionally injuring a person's reputation by posting false facts. If you follow along with things today, you'll know that that is a pretty big issue within our society right now. And again, the press cannot disclose any classified government secrets. So anything that is classified, tried to keep private by the government, the freedom or the press is not allowed to post those things. All right, and so assembly, people are allowed to gather, to assemble. People can protest. It is perfectly legal to protest, like I said earlier, but when protesting, you cannot loiter, so you can't hang out on private property without permission. You cannot obviously break laws by destroying people's property. And people are allowed to petition the government. So people can sue the government for being wrong if they feel like the government is in the wrong. There are many court cases that happen against the government. And the First Amendment does protect people from being punished for exposing wrongs by the government. So people are, if you were to be in a court case against the government is not allowed to punish you for calling them out. And so then the courts decide the wrongs. So again, the judicial branch interprets the laws. Here is an example. If you would like to read it, it's kind of interesting. You can pause and read about this group of students who went to court about their freedom of expression in school by wearing armbands that they were not allowed to wear. So that's pretty interesting if you want to pause these slides and read about them. But we are going to move on for the sake of time for this video. All right, the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. So if you want to pause this slide right here and type in the Second Amendment grants the right to bear arms. So there's a big debate with guns, even today and back whenever the Bill of Rights was created. There are just questions that come along with all of these rights. So in terms of this one, how much can the government do to keep guns from criminals and youth? In order to keep guns away from criminals, does that limit the right of the law-abiding citizens? So just trying to figure out if guns are more helpful than hurtful or the other way around. That's a kind of a hot topic in our world today, trying to figure out how to prevent guns from being used in the wrong way. But this is something that is protected in the Bill of Rights, is that people are allowed to, and they're protected by the Bill of Rights, allowed to bear arms, so own weapons. Okay, the Third Amendment states that soldiers cannot take over a home during war or peace without the owner's permission. So in terms of talking about before the American Revolution, we learned about quartering soldiers, and so the colonists were required to let the British soldiers live in their homes. They were not happy about that because, in a few years when the American Revolution started, they were on very, very different sides of the war. And so now, because of the Bill of Rights, the government cannot force you to shelter soldiers in your home without your consent in a time of war or time of peace. So the government provides shelter and housing for the soldiers because of the Third Amendment. They are not allowed to barge into your homes and stay with you. All right, so as we go through Amendments 4 through 8, these are rights that preserve the rights of the accused. So under Amendment 4, you can go ahead and pause and type this one out. It protects against unreasonable and unlawful search and seizure of a property. So, what does the government need in order to search your home? So, if for whatever reason the police or the government needed or wanted to search your home for some reason, they would need a probable cause, and they would need a warrant given by a judge. So they would need some type of proof, a cause that would be leading them to need to search your home, and they have to take that to a judge, and the judge signs off and says, yes, you are allowed to search that home. And so the Fourth Amendment protects against the government being able to come into your home. And so here are some videos. If you want to watch them, you can check them out on YouTube. But we're going to move on for the sake of time. So the Fifth Amendment, going back to your fourth slide, the Fifth Amendment, it allows all citizens due process. Allows all citizens due process. All right, so because of the Fifth Amendment, you cannot be tried for the same crime twice. So that is a term called double jeopardy. So, for example, if you were accused of, I don't know, robbing someone's home, you went to court and they said the ruling was that you were innocent. And then proof comes out later that maybe it was you. They have video evidence that it was you. You cannot go to court again for that crime because you're protected in the Fifth Amendment under double jeopardy. So once you are proven innocent, you cannot be proven guilty after that. There could be a different crime that you're tried for regarding that same situation, but for the same crime, you cannot be tried twice. And then you do not have to testify against yourself. You might have heard this before, someone saying, I plead the Fifth. So that's referencing the Fifth Amendment, saying you can be quiet. You don't have to speak in court when you're testifying against yourself. And then you must have due process of law before you are convicted. So due process just means due process is the legal requirement that the government must respect all legal rights that are owed to a person. So basically just saying the government protects you as you're going through the court system, that it must follow the legal process, and they're not going to skip steps to try to convict you faster or work against you. It's the same process for everyone. And so it's saying the government will the government will respect all of your rights, and it will go throughout the process the way that it is supposed to. And then also the government cannot take away your land unless it pays. So this is a video about double jeopardy. If you are interested in it, again, go to YouTube. There's lots of videos about it. It's called Double Jeopardy Definition Vocabulary. All right, the Sixth Amendment. I'll scroll up so you can see what you need to. Whoops, that is not what I wanted. There we go. The Sixth Amendment. So on your slide, you can type in the Sixth Amendment provides a speedy and public trial. Provides a speedy and public trial. Okay, so you have the right to a speedy trial by an impartial jury. So meaning the jury will not be biased towards one side or the other. They're people who have no side going into this, unbiased people. And so you must be told of your charges. You cannot be arrested and not told what you were arrested for. And you must be provided a lawyer if you cannot afford one. So that would be the Sixth Amendment speedy trial and lawyer. And again, if you're interested, another great video to check out would be Knowledge Seminar Jury Service Overview, if you feel like you want some more information and explanation on this. But that is where we're going to stop today. You can come back tomorrow and we will pick up with the Seventh Amendment.